This video is the first step in creating the jewelry box tray. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what I'm talking about for a jewelry box tray. So I lift off my top, and right here is our jewelry box tray. So we're going to make a tray, or pretty much just another box that's going to fit down inside our jewelry box. Alright, so if we go ahead and take a look at this thing, it's very similar to the process we used to create the actual jewelry box itself. You know, we've got mitered corners here, mitered corners. Let me show you the bottom. All right, the bottom this time is the same bottom material, okay, except this time we don't dado the sides. What we're going to do is we're going to do something called a rabbet. Okay, so instead of cutting a dado, we're going to cut a rabbet. So let's go ahead and figure out how to make this jewelry box tray. So you can actually start the tray as soon as the box is done and you have your risers in the bottom. All right, so the first thing we need to do is we need to figure out the perimeter of the inside of the box so we can figure out how big of a piece of lumber we need. So if I just go ahead and quickly look, this is a little bit over 9, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call it 10. So I got 10 in the back, I got 10 in the front. On the side here, it's a little over 6, so I'll call it 7 on the side, 7 on the side. So a rough estimate on a perimeter is 10 plus 10 is 20. The 7 plus 7 is 14. So I'm going to need a piece of lumber 34 inches long to go around the inside of the box. So it's going to be 34 inches long for that perimeter. And then I'll do this. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to measure the depth. It's not quite 2 inches, so we'll say 1 inch and 7/8. So pretty much what we need is we need a board like this. Okay, we need a board like this that's going to be 34 inches long, 1 inch and 7/8 tall. So let's write that down so we can figure out how to do the first step, and is make this strip of wood. First step, rough to length. Rough to length, we'd use the miter saw. How long do we want to make it? We just said 34 inches. Step 2, we're going to joint an edge. We'd use the jointer. Some of our notes for the jointer, right? We usually only do one edge. The crown would go up. And one last note, the board has to be wider than the height of the fence. Okay, so greater than or equal to 4 inches wide. If it's smaller than that, I'll have that jointed for you. Step 3, we're going to rip to width. We do that on a table saw. And we determined that our height was about 1 7/8 of an inch. So now that we've got our strip, what we can do is we can start laying out the sides of the box, of the tray. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and measure this. All right. Not using a very good ruler here for the camera, but I'm measuring right here. I'm measuring about I'm going to flip this around and go the other way. Sorry. I'm measuring here about 9 3/8. So this particular box is 9 3/8 long. Now yours is probably going to be different. All the boxes seem to be just a little bit different. So this is 9 3/8. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to just write that down for a second. 9 3/8. Then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to measure the width. And the width is about 6 3/8. So the width is 6 3/8. What I want is we want the tray to fit in here and kind of be a little bit loose. We don't want it to be too tight because then you're going to have a hard time getting this thing in and out. So we want, maybe it would be nice if we had 1/8 of an inch around here, 1/8, 1/8, and 1/8 all around. 1/8 plus 1/8 is a 1/4 inch, which is really 2/8. So let's do this. We want to subtract 2/8 from that dimension and 2/8 from that dimension for this particular box. So for this box, we're looking at 6 1/8 by 9 1/8. So those are the numbers that I'm going to use for this particular box. Your box, I'm sure, is going to be different. So you need to take some accurate measurements, subtract 2/8 from it, and come up with your distances. So just like we did for the outside of the box, right? We want to look at our piece, determine what we want to be the outside of the box and what we want to be the inside of the box. Look at the different grain patterns, see how you like it. I kind of like this. I like the kind of the hump going up. So here we go. Okay, just like before, we leave a little extra space at the end. Leave a little extra space at the end. Now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to measure out, I'm going to call this my left side, so I'm going to measure out my left side first. And we said from our calculations that's going to be 6 1/8. So right there is 6 1/8. I want to leave a little 1/2 inch space. Alright, and I'm going to go ahead, use my speed square, making sure my speed square is locked on there nice. And I'm just going to go ahead. Right, and this right here is my left side. Now the front is 9 1/8. 9 1/8 plus we'll leave a 1/2 inch space. And again, with my speed square, slide that speed square. Right, see it? I'll slide the speed square right up to my mark. Boom. There's my mark. Slide it right up. Boom. Right, so this was the front. Now I'm ready for the right side, so I'm going back to my 6 1/8 dimensions. So there's 6 1/8. I'll leave a 1/2 inch space. There's my mark. Slide up to my mark. Trace the line. And then finally, so this is the right side. And then finally, I've got this. This is going to be the back. And so this is going to be my 9 1/8. All right, so we should have a little extra room over here. This is the back. All right. Now, if I could do this, if I could spin this up from that point right there, we want a 45-degree line going off to the right. So what I do, I hook my speed square on, I slide my speed square across until this is lined up. Right? I can see the edge of my speed square is lined up with the line, and so now what I can do is I just trace it. And now I'll flip my speed square. I slide it along till it lines up. and now trace. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to repeat that process all the way through. Alright, so now you can see our layout. There's my piece for the left, and it's angling in. Here's my piece for the front. It's angling in, that 45-degree angle. Here's the right, angling in, back. Okay, so in order to get for this thing to work out correctly, we need to be really accurate with our measurements. That's our first step, is to be really accurate with our measurements. And then second, we have to be accurate with our cuts. But first, let's go ahead and review our process planning worksheet. Alright, so step 4, we're going to do our layout. Okay, and I'm going to say subtract a 1/4 inch subtract a 1/4 inch from the sides, from all 4 sides. Subtract a 1/4 inch from the sides, and that's going to be how we're going to go ahead and lay this out. What the heck, I'll write this down. Step 5, show me the layout. Show teacher layout. Alright, show me the layout, then we'll consider cutting it.